How you doing? Today we're going to be ranking the Resident Evil games based off a story. Now, it's an interesting case because the Resident Evil games have a pretty simplistic storyline overall, but it makes for some complexity in terms of how it builds with each new entry and what the world expands upon. So starting off, I'm going to start with the worst story in my opinion, and that's going to be Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6 does not have a lot in terms of offering a great story overall. There's a lot going on and it feels very overstuffed with the different perspectives that you got. You got 4 different storylines that all feel very boring and are very forgettable, shockingly enough, to where I genuinely don't care what happens from this story. I actually don't remember anything from the Resident Evil 6 story in terms of where the characters are now. I don't know where Leon is now, I don't know where Ada is right now, and I'm not about to go watch a whole animated TV show to figure that one out. Coming in 13th place is going to be Resident Evil 0, another forgettable storyline in terms of why we even needed to have it. It's a prequel story that we really didn't need, that only gave us information in regards to one of the 3 co-found creators of Umbrella, and even that is very forgettable in terms of how he became a leech monster and stuff like that. Billy, what even happened to Billy? Him being an ex-convict, I feel like that could have been like a very smart story to work on, but they really didn't, and I think future zombie games or movies took that concept instead. Even that is just, there's no point into going back to playing this game just for its storyline. Coming in 12th place is going to be Resident Evil 3, the remake. Just a very watered down version of the original Resident Evil 3, and it takes away all the interesting story elements and beats from the original and just instead replaces it with a lot of boring ass story decisions to where it feels like this game is on fast forward. Everything kind of just goes by and rushes really quickly. Brad dies in a very stupid manner where he gets bit by a zombie, comes back later, he's like, Marvin! Bites Marvin, and that just felt very forced and rushed. And the resolution also felt very off-putting with Nikolai suddenly being on the same team as Nemesis. Like every time Nikolai showed up, Nemesis is just chilling there, like he ain't trying to kill Nikolai. Like it just felt very weird and strange how they did this story in this game, and I'm gonna put it 12th place because of that. Coming in 11th place is gonna be Resident Evil Village. Now, I kind of discussed this already, but I'm gonna say it again. Resident Evil Village feels like it took away what could have been, to where you have all these great, amazing main villains in Lady Dimitrescu, Heisenberg, the doll bitch, and the ugly mug that could have worked for very good main villains. Like, they are the main focuses. But because of Miranda being the main one in charge, and they barely do anything with her story, and given the fact that she's literally a shapeshifter, so she could have been easily the best villain of the game, and of the whole franchise even, they wasted her potential and they made her probably one of the lousiest villains of the franchise. The final bosses in a lot of Resident Evil games are just very weak and pathetic, and this is just another example to where you had so much potential, but you wasted it, and you wasted a lot of good characters to get to it. And the whole Mia thing was very complex and doesn't make sense. Why would Mia still be alive? Why would Miranda keep her alive? What was the purpose of keeping her alive? Why didn't Miranda just fuck her up? Why didn't Chris just tell Ethan? I get it, it's supposed to be like, alright, let's get this over with type of shit, let's move Ethan to a different location, but like, at least tell Ethan like in private, Chris. There were so many other points in the story where Chris could have told Ethan, and so many things that just did not make a lot of sense. If there's one thing I could compliment though, is that Ethan's story with him being a part of the mold the whole time, I really like that twist. I just wish there was more to do with it. I just wish there was more done with the story that they were telling, rather than just making it very lazy. Coming in 10th place is going to be the OG Resident Evil, a classic 80s action type of story, even though it came out in the mid-90s, where you have a group Bravo team showing up to this mansion to figure out what the hell happened to the Alpha team, and then they find out that there's monsters and stuff. They gotta kill all the monsters. Somebody double crosses them, and then it turns out that they get fucked up, and now there's this big monster. They kill the big monster, they get the fuck out of there at the end. That's essentially Resident Evil's original game, but it's enjoyable. Like I said, the simplicity is what makes the complexity, and for this being the beginning and where we start from, I really enjoy it. Still aged like shit though. Coming in at 9th place is going to be Resident Evil 5. Now the only thing story-wise that I can really note about Resident Evil 5 is the story between Chris and Wesker. This story is essentially Chris versus Wesker. Everything else that goes on in this game is extremely forgettable. I don't really remember the story. I don't remember what Sheba's backstory is and what she has to do with Chris in this game, or any other storylines that they try to implement into this game either. I don't know. I don't really care. I just came here for Chris versus Wesker, and that's exactly what we got. And how they fucking ended Wesker off, I think was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. Fucking burning him in lava and then getting to shoot him with a fucking rocket launcher, fucking brilliant. Coming in at 8th place is going to be the Resident Evil 2 remake. For as much as I love this game, I have to admit its faults. In terms of story, there was a lot that was kind of neutered in the Resident Evil 2 story. They changed a lot of aspects that didn't really need to change, and that kind of went through things a lot quicker. In the same vein that some of the other games like Resident Evil 3, it feels like they pressed the fast forward button for certain things, and they missed out on a lot of opportunities to expand upon the story. I really like games that go full in length and just go with the story. This game feels like it skipped on the story just to get the better gameplay. And whilst I do enjoy the better gameplay, I do enjoy the better horror, I kind of wish that the story was done better. And I kind of also wish that Resident Evil 2 had Leon and Chris legit feel like they were in the same place at once, and not feel like it's some kind of alternate timeline where Leon is not there and Claire is not there. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Coming in at 7th place is going to be the Resident Evil 1 remake. Now, remember everything I just said about the original Resident Evil? Take all that, but make it actually better. The acting, the characters improved upon, add in even little new stories too, like Lisa Trevor and stuff like that, and you make for a much better remake game in terms of story. Coming in at 6th place is going to be Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the original. Resident Evil 3 takes the classic story of a chick being pursued by an endless stalker, but instead of it being the Terminator, you got the Nemesis, which is a biological thing rather than a mechanical thing. Even so, it makes for a fun game in terms of what you play, especially when you have that pursuer constantly after you every which way you go, including every place that you go to. So it makes for a very fun game overall, and story-wise, not a lot goes on in the story, but the story of Jill being chased by Nemesis, trying to get out of the city before it blows up by a nuke, is pretty enjoyable. Coming in at 5th place is going to be the Resident Evil 2 original game. The story with this one takes a nice concept in terms of having a rookie cop and a college student looking for her brother coming together after an apocalypse already has happened, and essentially trying to figure out how to get out of that situation they put themselves into. And along the way, they discover new mysteries and new stories in terms of like Ada and Sherry and all these different things that going on, and they find out about Umbrella, and it just keeps building and building. And that's what I really enjoyed about Resident Evil 2's story, is that it starts off very simplistic and basic, but as you go along with the story, it builds more and more and adds more stuff to the story to make it more interesting. Coming in at 4th place is going to be Resident Evil 7. You take the classic story of somebody going into a household and getting their shit fucked up by some hillbillies. What do you know? This ain't Texas Chainsaw, but shit, might as well be. I really like the fact that they introduced each of the characters of having their own distinct personalities and their own distinct quirks to them. I also enjoy how this is another Resident Evil game that just expands upon it as you go along, and it's more than just the main protagonist trying to get his wife out of there. Coming in at 3rd place, now this could go either way because I don't really care which way it goes, it's gonna be Resident Evil 4. This storyline was pretty good and pretty unique for what it was in Resident Evil. Resident Evil, we had a bunch of confined areas or open areas with zombies and monsters roaming around. This one focuses more on a cult aspect and takes it in a new direction, having Leon going to save the president's daughter from this Hispanic country, and as he's going along, he fights off these cult members and all the different aspects of this cult that they have in their land. And I really enjoy that because it's a fish out of water, but how they utilize the fish out of water here was really nice, and Leon, being the cocky son of a bitch that he is, makes for an enjoyable fun time. Coming in 2nd place is going to be Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, Resident Evil 4 Remake has everything that I like about the Resident Evil 4 storyline. The acting, the characters improved upon, and you make for a much better remake game in terms of story. However, for me, coming in 1st place, the best story out of all the Resident Evil games is going to be Resident Evil Code Veronica. Now, this should have deserved the Resident Evil 3 name. However, that's not the case. Resident Evil 3 went to Nemesis instead of Code Veronica, but it is what it is because Code Veronica still is a thing, and Code Veronica feels like the end of a trilogy to me. To where Resident Evil 3 Nemesis felt more like Jill's little side story of trying to escape Raccoon City, Code Veronica feels like the end of the trilogy that Resident Evil was trying to tell with Resident Evil 1 and 2, having Claire and Chris finally reunite together, brother and sister, and having to fend off against the monstrosities and the Ashford family. And you also get Wesker, who comes back here, and you have that storyline between Chris and Wesker that leaves you to foreshadow to Resident Evil 5, and I just love all the things that they do with the storyline here that makes it truly feel like a climactic ending to the original Resident Evil saga before we went to Resident Evil 4 onward. So for me, Code Veronica easily has the best Resident Evil story. But how about y'all? How would y'all rank the Resident Evil stories? I really don't care, but I still like to hear it anyway, because, you know, why not? You're here listening to me because you care, right? So, you know, if you want to put it in the comments, I'll see. But arrivederci. How about that?